Globally, our food supply chain requires functioning natural ecosystems. When you're not sustainable sourcing, over time, these resources get degraded. Eventually, they disappear or they stop functioning properly, and therefore the ability for people to eat food that comes off that land goes away.
It was a fantastic news for me. It was a dream. It was the first to launch such an ambitious program.
We had the guts to set targets that we knew were going to be very difficult to meet.
We had quite a big exposure from an agricultural lens, and therefore the starting point was to develop the Sustainable Agricultural Code.
Its goal is to set a bar that needs to be cleared in order for a product to enter the Unilever supply chain.
Partnerships have been incredibly important. We have worked with many NGOs. We need them to help us formulate the targets around biodiversity and nature. We need others to help us with setting up programs aimed at smallholder farmers and livelihoods.
The solution needs to match what the farmer's ambition is. It needs to match the ambition of the supply chain. It needs to match the local context, the local political context.
This wasn't going to happen overnight. A lot of our suppliers had never been engaged in such a deep way, and for many of them it was something completely new. In some cases, hard choices did have to be made in selecting suppliers that were really committed to the journey with us.
The USLP was very well established in terms of the environment. Really, the ambition that we have was to drive into our business the whole agenda of human rights, labor rights, and social impact. We learned that there were issues in our tea plantation. Subsequently, working together with UN Women and IDH, we have created almost like a blueprint for safety for women, not only to do no harm, but to advance women in all the communities where we operate, particularly in agriculture. The magnitude of the social impact that we can have as a company when we get it right is tremendous.
Plantations. The rainforest ripped up to make
increasingly under threat from palm oil plantations.
We're talking about a crop which has a footprint of over 25 million hectares with many, many actors in the supply chain. So it is naturally highly complex.
We had participated in the creation of the Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil, and RSPO had decided to issue green palm certificates. And that worked well in the beginning, but of course at some point we got comments and criticism for NGOs who said, if you really want to do a transformation in the market, then you really must work on kind of a segregated supply of certified palm oil.
Investment in the oleochemicals facility really changed the game for us in being able to get a more direct palm oil supply chain. And that allows us to then work on traceability and transparency in palm oil, and obviously to have the capability, of course, to include more smallholders in that supply chain. This really defined exactly what our expectations were of our partners in producing palm oil and starting to really drive our conditions of sourcing around no deforestation, no development on peat, and no exploitation of people and communities.
We have chosen very much to take that focus where we know that because of that volume that we source, we can have an influence over the chain. We were one of the first consumer good companies to list all our supplier refineries and mills. That was quite a milestone.
If you have traceability and transparency and you know where your ingredients are coming from, then you have the ability to therefore reassure yourself and your consumers.
This is exactly what they want, and it's a huge driver of their trust.
I'm very proud of the fact that we have taken the lead in sustainable sourcing, that we have helped to make the concept of sustainability mainstream in the food industry and in the farming industry.
At the beginning of the journey, no one knew about sustainable sourcing or sustainability. Now, after 10 years, we see that most of our suppliers are running their own agenda independently from Unilever. And this is the best achievement we had.
But at the same time, we have to admit that we haven't been able to stop a number of things that are really damaging to the environment, damaging to planet Earth.
My concern is that the impacts of climate change are going to become very apparent in the next 5 to 10 years. And that will mean that we need to be even more responsive and more committed to making sure that our supply chains and our farmers are able to be resilient to climate change.
It's not an event, it's a journey, right? And responsible sourcing is just a progressive journey of many goals that we continue advancing.
Our ability to do that successfully is our ability to influence and impact our footprint on this planet.